Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners. Explore secrets of the universe with show host Sherri Sage Zimmerman. Navigate between the worlds of both the physical and the spiritual planes of existence.
Welcome, everyone, again to another special edition of Secrets of the Universe. As always, I am glad for all of you who appear here each week live. I know I have a few people that tend to come to the show I'm very excited about. And I also want to mention that anytime that you want to donate for this show, Secrets of the Universe, you're more than welcome to do so. You can contact me or my manager, Tiffany, at Goldylocks Productions. So if you'd like to sponsor the show or sponsor the production company, we're really happy to have you participate. And I also will give readings from time to time for those who do. It's just my way of giving back and thanking you for helping us keep this show on the air. And today I want to bring on a special woman who has many, or I should say wears many hats. The work that this woman does, her name is Quiros, and she has specialty areas, quite a few that I'm really interested in talking with her about. Some of those things are, she is a wellness educator, quantum biofeedback specialist, which I'm very excited to hear more about that, since I don't know much about that. Certified health coach, Reiki master. She also does retreat organizer and facilitator. So that'll be something we'll also talk about. That sounds very exciting to me. And also she is an LPN, which I did not know when I decided to bring her on board on our show. So let me bring in Karen so we can get talking with her. Hey, Karen, how are you?
Hi, good, Sherri. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you on board. I'm really interested in some of the work you're doing, and I'm always looking to learn myself, since there's so much out there in our world or universe. So if you want to just share anything about maybe how you got into your work or your growing up years, or anything that you would enjoy sharing with our audience
okay,
about you.
Sure. So how I got started in loving helping others and healing, of course, is when I was in my younger years, we'll say in my 20s, I was diagnosed with systemic lupus. And back then, this is before internet,
Yeah.
I was told that I had 5 to 7 years to live.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
So I stayed with the physicians, the rheumatologists, for about 9 months, following their protocols. They basically said that they could help me with managing the symptoms with medication and some psychotherapy and support groups, and also physical therapy. I think that's what it was. And I did do that, and I was getting worse. Sorry, it just keeps coming out. One second. And I decided at some point that I was going to take this healing journey on my own. And I went, of course, to the doctors, sharing that with them. And they thought that I was crazy,
Of course.
that I needed help,
Of course.
and recommended a psychotherapy. And I didn't follow their orders that time. And I began by going to the library and researching lupus, systemic lupus. And prior to this diagnosis, I had been both a bulimic and an anorexic.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So I thought that whatever I did nutritionally to my body is what caused lupus. So
Mhm.
I started going to the library, enrolled in college. I started studying nutrition, and one thing led me to the next. And I, somewhere in that path, learned about meditation,
Mhm.
and I began meditating every day
Wow.
and visualizing myself healed. So during some of my meditations, I began to receive guidance
Mm.
into what to study next, what I should do. And I started then following maybe 50% of the time my direction. You know, we all go through that where we hear
Yes.
something and it's like, all right, maybe next time I'll do that.
Yes.
So I started to follow my higher self, wisdom, whatever it was. And I, over the course of several years, I can't say exactly when that healing took place, although I do connect it with a acupuncture session I had, because I was in that session and my body again came out and I was above it looking at this shriveled up woman,
Oh,
all
wow.
bones and skin. And I
Wow.
just took that vision, that time, as leaving that body behind and I'm beginning anew.
Wow.
So that's pretty much where it started. And I never stopped. You know, I studied Reiki, I've studied Marconics healing, I've studied Tibetan bowl healing. It's in me to help and guide others. And
Yes.
it was one of those times somewhere in there. I don't remember where years wise. I think it was
Mhm.
still in my 20s that I had a car accident and I was yanked out of my body. And at that time I was guided that I had to go back.
Oh, wow.
And my mission is to ease the suffering of others.
Mm.
I live that every day.
Yes.
So
Yes, that's an amazing story. And I apologize. I keep moving around. I'm trying to get my lighting right here, and I can't seem to do that. Because I feel like I'm sitting in the dark here when I'm talking to everybody.
you're pretty good.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just opened the door again. I said, yeah, maybe that'll help. And I changed my glasses because the other ones have such a reflecting. I want to say a couple things. You know, I think for all of us, and just hearing this beginning of your story sharing with us, I think for those of us who've had some kind of dramatic experience, whether in childhood or even early teens or 20s, it somehow does kind of set up for some of us, obviously not everybody, but some kind of a path of learning. And for me, really, it's about remembering, right? It's really remembering from our true nature of who we are. And if you're into past lives like I am, and most of my audience knows I am, you know, it's about remembering, right? So yeah, I love that this story you're already sharing, because I think stuff like what you're talking about, especially a health condition, because I also had a major health condition when I was 19 years old. And it really kind of pushes you towards trying to understand and learn whatever you can, right? Because you're always hoping for whatever this next thing is. And I pretty much have run the gamut. Not everything. I haven't done acupuncture yet, but I've done a lot of these different things. But I don't want to go on about me. I want to hear more about you. So your work began somewhere in that time period, I guess, in your more or less in your 20s and your 30s.
Well, that was my soul-driven work. You know, I was always passionate about healing and helping others. You know, I always wanted to become a nurse. And so I think that's just who I was, you know, destined to be here, is to help other people. So that's when it began, as, you know, feverishly. Otherwise, you know, you're surviving as a young adult and trying to find your way and whatever. So I was doing many different things and still do wear many hats. So that was, you know, kind of stopped me in my tracks, because to be told that you have 5 to 7 years to live, it's just such a rude awakening. And you know, you'll do whatever it is that you can. I couldn't stay with what they were giving me, because I was tireder, I was miserable, I was, you know, overweight. I already struggled with bulimia and anorexia. I'm not taking pills, you know, so maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I don't want to say that, but in retrospect, you know, that I was concerned about my body. And at that point I had healed already from both of those. But it's been a beautiful journey, and it continues onward. And I keep learning. I'm studying positive psychology right now, but it's just my passion to continue to learn. And anyone I've worked with over the years since COVID, I stopped seeing clients in my practice, which is here. Oops, there goes my headphone again. My office. And I put all of my energy into creating the happiness compass. I guess I neglected to put that in the bio.
No. And actually, I missed that when I saw it. And I thought, oh, and again, there's so much. And I'm like, I missed saying that. I apologize. It's okay. Interesting. I love the name. Happiness Compass is just a great name.
Yes, and it's just that, and it really is. All of it began with lupus. That's all I can say about it, because everything that I've worked with over the last 20, 30 years is all divinely guided. Mm-hmm. Every single step of it. And this last year, I returned. I was not running a retreat, actually. I took a friend down to Costa Rica, and we came back in March. And I was like, now what am I going to do? So that's where I was divinely guided and put it all together. And that's my passion work in a nice online format, so that somebody can go through it and discover their healing, their path, their soul's purpose.
Yes.
And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. And what's interesting for me, and again, I've been in the medical field too for over 20 years now. More on the end of CNA work. But considering I had a lot of trauma too, meaning I had my first nervous breakdown at 19 years old, which ended up really being not so much a nervous breakdown. It turned out to really be being attacked by darker entities that do exist in this world. I know some people struggle with that. I didn't want to really know about any of that when I was younger. However, just because of the fear of it. But I think whenever we have something that's like that, like being told that you have so much time to live, when I was told that I have a mental illness and I need to take medication for the rest of my life, which I never felt comfortable with, never, ever, ever. It was not until after my 28th breakdown of being hospitalized. Most of my life I've been in now the mental hospitals. And I found that around 2012 is when I started saying to myself, because I would never stay on the medicine, I just never believed it was what it was. I said, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I have a mental illness. Maybe I need to take these pills that I can't stand, because I think they actually make you worse. So it was really 2012 that was a turning point for me, where I started really getting more depressed about that issue. And then again in 2016, being divinely guided, as you say, which is so, we all know down deep that's what it is. They showed me in 2016 a couple things to help complete my puzzle. And that was that I was being attacked over the years. And it was a combination. I'm sure there might have been a little bit of mental, because I was born with a condition called the Mather gene, which actually 40% of the population has it, and it affects some people, the frontal lobe. Right? So
yes,
right.
A large population carries that. Yes.
Yeah, except that some people, when you really get into it, I studied it since 2016 and really still want to do more studying, but some people actually have more severe cases of it. And I am one of the ones that do have a more severe case of it. So there is a severity difference with some of the gene mutations. Yes. So anyway, I think it's amazing when you have an experience like you have, where spirit tells you no, you need to go back. My daughter had an experience like that many years ago, actually, where same thing happened. They had told her she needed to return. And I think when those things happen for us, or even with myself having experiences, what I've had over the years, I think it really does make you more aware of your purpose, and makes you more aware of, I remember I signed up for this, on the other side before I came in, it's like, I want to work in that area when I get down to earth, I need to help those large groups of people down there that are struggling with that, or going to be by the time I'm a teenager or 20s,
Yes.
So yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Can you educate me a little bit more about your quantum biofeedback? I have no idea on the understanding of what that is.
So I'll explain what it is, and then I'll explain how I use it. So when I was very young, I think I just was brought here to do this. I was studying before I was diagnosed with lupus. During my years of anorexia and bulimia, I was studying, I think her name was Hulda Clark, and Rife's work. And it's all about how frequencies influence our lives. And basically every single thing that the creator made has its own frequency, just like we all have our own fingerprints. Everything created has its very specific frequency. So generally people use this, or, it's approved use in the United States is to focus on relaxing the body. And, I use breath work, and I have them focus on their third eye and do some breath work. And I can kind of watch on the screen what's going on and if they're responding to the feedback that the system, But generally, when I use it for personal use, I do use it to scan my body. It scans about 7,000 frequencies in about 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And it gives me a report and lets me know where there are imbalances in the body and what they perhaps could be. Toxins, bacteria, etc. And then we can feed back that frequency, and basically the body begins to heal itself when it's brought back into balance.
I see. So it's more of a, I'm not quite sure if I still under, it's a machine or software that you use?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a computer system, and it has leads. It has, we put 2 around the wrists and 2 around the ankles and 1 around the head. But it also can be done in what they call metaspace. So it's using your unique fingerprint, your birth date, your location, etc. And you can be scanned from anywhere in the world.
Oh, nice. Okay. That's interesting. I may be looking into that hopefully by the end of the year.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
Look into Rife's work. I think it's Ronald Rife. Yes, R-I-F-E.
Oh, Rife, R-I-F-E?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I will look into that. I'm very much interested in the quantum idea, mostly because I definitely feel, and I have been told, I've had very many or a few interdimensional lifetimes, so which means a couple of lifetimes within one. So yeah, I'm real interested in all the different kinds of things that can help us again heal on different levels. We always think about this earth and our physical bodies and our aura or the energy around our bodies that is they see on photographs, the outline of our energy.
The system does both those, actually. One is called the dimensional panel, and we're able to just read again to see if there's something stressing the body, the physical. And we can give that biofeedback to.
Okay, we just got stuck there. You kind of froze. Can you just say the last few sentences?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the system does have dimensional, where we can go back and pick up where, there's some type of a energy that came with you through one of your past lives.
Okay.
And we can address that currently. And it also does scan for your auric field and your chakras and lets us know if there's imbalances in them energetically. Okay. So basically it's similar to, I kind of equate it when I'm doing metaspace to prayer and sending that frequency out of prayer to someone. And when I'm working with someone here, it's similar to working, with Reiki, but it's through a computerized system. So, it scans and it's great. I love it. I've worked myself with, I'll tell you how I got started on that quickly, because I was training actually in yoga, and I was driving an hour distance back and forth, and I was in my 50s then. So I was older, and it was at night, and the lights were really bothering me. And
Wait a minute. Did you just say I was in my 50s back then?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how old you are, but
I just turned 60.
Oh my gosh, you look so young.
Well, you're
wow.
sweet.
I just kind of threw me. I'm like, wow, I thought you were like a lot younger.
No,
wow. Okay.
Been around a long time. Probably a couple of times.
You look fantastic. Okay.
Thank you. Well, mid 50s, I'm going to say. I was doing one of my yoga trainings, and I was driving back, and I was losing my night vision, even like the side peripheral vision. And, I went into everything I knew, and I always study, like, no matter what is going on in my body, my family's body, or my client's body, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. I'm going to research. I'm going to figure this out. I worked so hard, and I even bought a PEMF mat, which is pulsed electromagnetic field mat, that's supposed to help with the eyes, and I wasn't making any headway. And this equipment was quite an investment. It's about $15,000-$20,000.
Oh my gosh.
But I wasn't about to build one. I started building one when I was younger. So I said, I have to invest in this. So it did help me back then with the Lyme disease, which is what it was. That I had been treated. I did take the antibiotics for it, but I had residual, and I believe that's what it was. It was from the, Lyme disease, that I was losing my vision. And I'm going to say I invested in it. Within a couple of weeks, I started noticing a huge difference. So I'm a firm believer in any frequency medicine. So.
Oh, wow. No, that's interesting. I really love all that kind of work too. A couple things. I wasn't planning on asking this, and that's why I like to do my interviews more loosely or more raw, because you never know what's going to pop up. So I was just thinking, for some weird reason, what is your take? And again, I'm very non-controversial. However, I do have my own ideas about what you feel with the vaccine going on today. Like, do you get a feeling, or what are you feeling intuitively, that this is helpful, not really time for it yet, or?
Okay, you asked. So initially, I mean, over my lifetime, I always had a feeling that maybe a vaccine is what triggered lupus. So I was very, not against vaccines, but not for them either, especially not New York State. I think we're at 52 or 54 K through 12. These children have to receive. So I homeschooled my boys. I delayed vaccines until they built their own immune systems a little more, especially knowing what I knew and studied all those years. So that said, fast forward to this day, I travel a lot. Initially, I was completely against it, of course, but I meditated and I prayed up on it, and I received a clear message that it is safe. Get it now. Now is the time to get it before the vaccines are coming in from overseas at a less expensive price, and all of the states decide to start buying those. That the ones that are here now are the safest.
Okay.
So that's my take on it now. I'm vaccinated.
Yeah.
And that was last week. I took my second one.
Okay.
I feel fabulous. I was very concerned, I have to say, but I feel really awesome. And I drank what somebody told me was to drink. It's sitting next to me, this Essentia water. It's like 9.5 pH. And at first I was like, all right, whatever anybody says, I'm going to listen to in the health food store. She advised me to get this. And I have to say, I drank it and I felt amazing all week. And the first vaccine I took, I was not. I had a lot of pain.
No. Yeah, I have a client that had it too and didn't do well with the first one. I'm not for them or against them either. But at this stage of my life, I don't feel that I'm going that road. I'm more actually concerned about. I'm much more concerned about the mandatory that they're trying to do on the vaccines. That I'm really against. I mean, hugely against. Just because I believe in keeping our country free. And some people might say, well, you may be dead, but I still think it should be your option. I'm okay if I die. I don't want to die, but I'm okay if I do. I'm not a big, huge, I'm not worried about, well, this body, if it goes, or this life, I'm not worried about that stuff. Like some people may, who don't understand past lives or future lives, so I don't have an issue about that. But yeah, I just wanted the opinion, just because I feel at this point in time with everything that is going on, and it's such a huge part of our world events right now. So thank you for that. And again, for me, this show, I try to be very non-judgmental, meaning anybody, I just believe whatever our experiences are,
yes,
they're our experiences, right?
They are.
So,
and choice is number one. I am right there with you. I believe it's choice.
Yes.
With my boys, it's their choice. They're young adults. One's 20, one's 27. It's your body. You have to do what's right for you.
I agree.
Tap in, tune in, and listen.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. Yeah, I do believe it's very individual, especially with your children, because I think there's a lot of people out there like, oh no, I got to make sure my children. And I understand that from being a mother.
Yeah.
But I do believe, like you do, once they're young adults, they really need to have that feeling like they can make that choice, So let's get out of that subject. I just wanted to bring that up because I think, it's obviously there's such a big controversy about all of it. I also want to tap into the fact that you do some retreats. Why do you have that connection with Costa Rica? Where did that come from? Besides, obviously, a past life, there must be something.
I wholeheartedly agree with you there. Absolutely. I am connected to Costa Rica, the water, just the water alone. I can spend days in the water and just come out a little bit to grab a mango or two. My husband's under the tree. So my husband is a Tico, or a Costa Rican.
Oh, cool.
So we've been together, I believe, 31 years.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Thank you. He's better at that than I am. But so I've been going down there for many years, and I am madly in love with the energy, the ocean, the sand, nature. It just draws me in, and I cannot wait to go back. And I only came back last week because I had to take my second vaccine. But and I do run retreats down there. I was running retreats, I should say. I'm sorry. A couple times a year, just because I love introducing people to the country, and a lot of the women that would come, they were single or their spouses didn't want to travel any longer. And I think it's a great, safe place to travel to and enjoy all the beauty there is. I mean, it's just, it's incredibly beautiful country.
Yeah, it's funny because years ago, when I had my house in Florida, many, many years ago, I remember coming across a book. I don't know where I got the book from, but I'm a really big library person too. I really think I was born with a paper and pen in hand, and books. But I came across a book that actually had to do with that it was one of the best countries to retire in. So I went through the book. I just found it really interesting. I don't really know anything about Costa Rica. But yeah, it sounds interesting. Again, this is something down the road I definitely would like to hook up with you in the future. Once my adventure of what I'm doing right now gets out into the world. I would definitely like to check that out with you, maybe take a trip.
I'd love to have you.
I've got some close friends, a small circle of close friends. It would be just something really fun to do.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going in November. I have one villa left.
Okay. I don't think I'm going to be in the middle of pretty much in the middle of my board game creation production, but maybe in the following year. So the other thing I wanted to ask was, so you are involved in also yoga.
Yes. And
you've been doing that for how long?
Yoga, probably the last 30 years. I've been doing yoga on and off, but training and certifying in it within the past 5 years.
Okay.
And I don't teach yoga, but I do teach. When I do the retreats, I'll bring in soul collage, which is it's a Jungian therapy, as well as chakra dance, which is my favorite. I love chakra dance.
Oh, cool.
So those are the two. But I think I'm shifting a little bit to bring in and work. I haven't published it yet, but I want to run happiness compass retreats.
Oh,
Like
that'd be
a
neat.
5-day. Yeah. Yeah. That's my
5-day
goal.
retreat type of a
Mhm.
thing. And
Yes.
what would be kind of that wrapping around what? What would be the whole?
Well, tapping in with your soul, teaching women how to tap in and then discover where in their life there's imbalance, and then how to create balance in those areas.
Nice.
I think it's like 18 areas I work with on my compass. And, they tap in, they tune in, and they really connect with that word or whatever it is. If it's creativity or if it's family or career, whatever it is, they tap in and they feel, and then they fill out the form, and then they can actually look at it later on and say, whoa, I didn't realize I was this out of balance here. So then they get to pick which one they want to focus on and eventually manifest that life that they desire.
Oh, great. Oh, that sounds really good. Yeah, especially, it's interesting that's coming up now for you, because I'm a believer that at any stage of life in our human life forms, that different things come about at certain time periods for certain reasons. And obviously we all know with the COVID right now, that would be kind of something really interesting for a lot of people, because our lives have been thrown, majority of us, out of balance. And for some people, that's actually thrown them into balance, meaning that they have woken up to more of a realization that, yeah, I'm done with that and I am going in this direction. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, yeah. It's kind of
That's
interesting.
so true. It's very true. It really, and reconnection and all different things that's happened. I know just for myself is just my relationship with my husband. We're just like best friends now. We're all stuck in this together and we're spending more time together. Whereas both of us were like those two ships in the night. He's running with his cute career, I'm with my career. And it's like, we see each other.
I mean, it really did bring things into really, I think, if people really allow themselves to see the bigger picture and the small detailed picture, I think that this COVID thing of throwing people together in the really tight conditions, it's either, whether or not these are the people, and I'm talking close, husband, wives, are we going to keep going or not? Because that, if anything's going to really kind of bring something out, to me, it's going to be that. But the other thing I wanted to ask too is, and I'm wondering, when I heard you back in the beginning of our interview, that you mentioned you had also anorexia and something else. Can you talk more about that? Like, how do you work with that, with anorexia, or what is that really about? And I don't mean just the typical answer, because a lot of us know the traditional answers. I'm always looking for both the traditional and the metaphysical,
Yeah. Well, I was around, I guess, 19 or so. I left home at 15, but I don't want to go there right now. That's a long story. So I've been living on my own since I was 15. So I think being independent at a very young age put such incredible stress on me to be an adult in an adult's world, to look great, to, I was a cocktail waitress at 16 years old. And I struggled with weight. I struggled with weight as a young girl. When I was 13, I just remember having humongous thighs in these pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, I went through what I went through, and I discovered, bulimia, and became anorexic through bulimia, or vice versa. I don't remember which came first.
Yeah.
But what it is I can't pinpoint exactly how I healed my body from that, but I know it was through spirit and through connecting and praying, just a lot of prayer for answers and direction. I didn't want to have something controlling me, and it got me. It really had me. So I was very passionate about not, I didn't like to be, I'm a rebel. That's what it is. I'm a rebel. So,
thank God.
I left home at a young age because I didn't like to be restricted and, told what to do and how to do it. And so here I was again in the same situation. It was a process. It really was a process. I did go to therapy for a little bit, but nothing was really helping me. And, I still had to go home with myself and look at food and deal with food and learn to love it.
But
And
that's what I mean. What is, I don't quite get what the hook is about it. And does a person that has like, I'm sure with bulimia, someone would be pretty aware that they have that issue going on. But I've heard with anorexia, a lot of people who have it aren't aware, or they're not willing to be aware, because that's part of the condition. So I guess so. It all really basically still goes down to one's self-esteem.
Yeah, I think it is self-esteem, self-love, determination to shift and change. As far as anorexia, if I were to tap back into that energy for a minute, let me just feel it. It was control. I was in control of my life. I was in control of what went into my body. I think that's how that started. And then I was out of control when I became bulimic, because when I was hospitalized with anorexia in the beginning days and discharged to my own, home alone. And so I said, well, this is the only other way I can do this. I can keep my weight down if I eat and purge. So I think that's how it happened, actually. So it was anorexia first. I went into the hospital, and this was the way I could, control that. But, it all taps into past and whatever, and things that happened and whatnot. You learn and you figure them out. And for me, it was a really long journey, and it was a long time ago. And I don't really work with anybody that has anorexia or bulimia over the years. I don't think I'm qualified to do so. And so I wouldn't, that's a very, it's more for psychotherapy and someone to work with them one-on-one and full-time care. I don't believe you can go back to the environment you were in and expect someone to succeed. They have to be in a clinical environment. So.
Wow, really?
That's my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah. Because you go back to that, situation. If mine was being alone or, dealing with family issues or whatever it was, as soon as I would go back to that, I'd be doing really good. And then all of a sudden I'd have an interaction on the phone or whatever it was. And boy, I'd run home and purge. I just needed to get this out of me because it was,
So you're saying the change of your environment, being in some kind of another place that knows how more to deal with that, is helpful for that? Then
absolutely.
Then it would be really hard to do it on your own. Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard.
I run into a lot of different people over time who talk to me about issues, whether it's family or friends or also. Okay. And I know there was something else I wanted to ask you. Oh, around what time was it when you had that experience where you were told from the other side to come back? What was that happening around that time? That's when you had the lupus that occurred, or?
I had lupus at the time still. I think I was still, struggling through it, working through it, educating myself and trying a multitude of things. It was a car accident, and the car hit a tree, and I was in the passenger seat. And all I can remember was I heard the horn, and I felt, the only way I can describe it is I was like, a hand came. No, it wasn't a hand, but something came and just yanked me. I felt like I was pulled.
Yeah.
And as I was traveling, I could hear the distance
of time.
No, the horn.
Oh, the car. Oh,
and I was in fear. I was totally relaxed, and I was just somewhere. I was in limbo somewhere. Nothing. I can't describe anything. I didn't see anyone, and it was a voice that said, "It's not time. You need to go back. I have to. My mission, and it was my mission, was to ease the suffering of others." That's all I remember is those words: to ease the suffering of others.
Wow.
And I remember questioning, like, how am I going to do this? I'm already suffering. And he's already, afterwards. When I came back, but
funny.
Yeah, so that was
and of course that's why you were suffering, because you were meant to do that. I'm a big believer it takes one to know one, right?
It does.
Yeah, yeah.
does.
I mean,
Yes.
you've got to walk in those shoes in order to really be able to relate to somebody. And that's how I always feel. I mean, I
Yeah.
love people that have book knowledge. That's great. I love book
Yes.
knowledge. Don't get me wrong.
Me too.
But when I know that somebody's walked in my shoes, I'm like, yeah, you get me. You know, you really do understand, you know?
Yes.
So,
And we need that out there. We really need that out in allopathic medicine, because when you haven't walked, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It's very easy for someone, especially with lupus, to look at them and say, you look great. There's nothing wrong. Okay, so the blood tests say this, but you're really miserable. And unless you've walked in their shoes, you really don't know the path or the direction, I should say, the compass, because that's what I do with
right.
any of my clients is I will point them in the direction of where they need to go. And it's up to them to take those next steps. I'm here to support you and guide you, but it is up to you. And I get it. I know exactly how they're feeling. I know where they've been. I know that nobody wants to talk to you anymore on the phone because you're always complaining, because you're always in pain and misery and you just want a solution. So yeah, I think that's really important. Unfortunately, we can't, wish that upon anyone.
Yeah, right.
So
Are you saying people kind of get a little tired of hearing people with lupus complain about not feeling well? Because I can relate to that, even though I've not had that experience. Being
Absolutely.
so-called mentally ill, which I don't buy into that whole label,
Right.
because I believe it's really people that are very intuitive and very tuned into the other side. And a lot of us just don't know how to balance that energy. But anyway, that's my idea of mentally ill. But I feel that I've noticed that there's people that don't understand so-called mentally ill people, and it's the same kind of reaction, like, oh, we got to stay away from you because,
They don't know if they're just uncomfortable. That was when I was working, or training in nursing. That was one of my favorite units, actually, that I worked on, because I have the compassion and understanding.
Yes.
I understand you. Not that I have experience. I haven't, fortunately. Thank you, God, for that. But I do have compassion, and I can see why, people are uncomfortable. Same with someone that's diagnosed with cancer. People
No,
get
exactly.
uncomfortable being around them because, they don't know what to
Exactly.
say, and they don't want to
No.
say the wrong thing.
No,
Yeah.
you're right. And that's why it takes one to know one, right? Because
Yes.
those of us have been there, have walked in those shoes, are comfortable because we know it. We understand it.
Our
I mean, it's
lingo.
funny. Yeah. And it's interesting because the one illness I hear a lot of people over time, I'm talking about even nurses, and I've worked around and aides, but mostly nurses, where, oh, that person's got bipolar, they're like, it just cracks me up. I'm like, wow. I said, I hate to tell you, but everybody's got a little bit of a form of bipolar anyway. But it's just sad, because it's sad that, people, like you said, they don't understand, or they're ignorant, really. And I'm a believer, like you, that as long as you have compassion, at least you have something really to work with other people, even though you've not walked in those shoes, right? So another thing, and we're getting a little close, another 5 minutes or so, and I want to say something that came up to me earlier when we were talking, that I feel, I don't know if you've done this yet, but this is what came to me, was I feel like if you haven't written a book yet, or you're in the process of writing a book, because I felt like when we were talking earlier, like there's supposed to be a book. So I don't know what that is.
I just published a collaborative book on April 20th that went to Amazon, #1 bestseller here in the States, and then #1 internationally in Canada. That was collaborative. But I do have a book, and it has a working title of Lupus, Starving the Wolf. And it kind of chronicles, but at the same time gives steps of what I did. I mean, I really left no stone unturned when I was trying to heal my body. No stone.
I get it. I get
stone.
it.
Yeah.
I know. I've done the same thing. I know.
Yeah. So I believe it's about 3/4 of the way done, and I have a goal of publishing it by the fall. And
that's the one. That's the one. That's the one I felt like I was picking up. Yeah, I just felt strong when we were talking. I meant to say something. I didn't want to interrupt when you were talking, but that's what I was feeling like. There's got to be a book. Like I kept hearing like a book. So yeah.
Yeah, it's there. Since 2012, it's been on my shelf. But I completely revamped it last year, just before COVID. So I
Oh,
started
wow.
it that
Wow.
November through March, and I
Mhm.
organized it because I wanted concise little steps instead of overwhelming people with
Right.
too much information. So
Right.
I took it and I put it in bite-sized pieces, and that's where I'm at. But I'm close. I'm very close. But
Okay, good. Good.
it's
Well, no, I'm
exciting.
excited to hear that. And we only have a few people online right now. Actually, there may be a couple, but if anybody had a question for Karen, while we talk for a few more minutes, you're welcome to put a question. Um, there was something else too I wanted to bring up. Let me think. There's so much to talk with you about. And again, I usually let my guests know I do returning guests. I don't like a one-time guest. I feel like I want my audience to get to know my guest. So we will definitely, if you decide to in the future, in the near future, doing another show, because I always feel like there's
Happy.
more things
Happy.
happening, right? Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Happy to. Would love to.
Great. So we got the book coming out. When do you feel it may hit the market? The lupus book?
Lupus, I'm aiming for the fall. I'm in speaking with a couple of editors right now, and I mean, I'm really close. I feel like it's done, but
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
being called to put more in.
yeah. It's like kind of cleaning it up. I have a book too.
Yeah,
I have a slew of books actually that are waiting to come out.
that's
But my Mother
great.
Mary book is the one I'm really hoping to get out by the end of this year. But I said that the last couple of years, which is fine. I believe that when they come out is when they're meant to come out. All in Buddha time. Um,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So I understand it. Mine just needs to be a little cleaned up too. So I get that. And I may talk to you about who you're having doing your book, meaning
Okay.
publishing. I might check out what you're. Um, okay. So this has really been really interesting. Really, really good.
Yeah.
Good
Have you?
news.
I actually counseled with an astrologer,
Mhm.
um, to find out when was best for me to publish it last year, but it didn't work out because I was right in the middle of finishing
Yeah.
up the Happiness Compass, the webinar, and all of that. So I didn't get it out. I think it was December 21st, according to my chart. So I'm going to have to do my chart again and
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
when is best. But maybe it's next December 21st, come to think of it, this year. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh yeah, right,
In the
right. And
solstice.
it's not unusual, even with astrology, and I've been doing astrology for 30 years, but I have a girl on my website now who I think is excellent. She hasn't been doing it a long time, but she's really, really, I just think she's a natural. But anyway, even with astrology, timing can always be one of those things where um, sometimes things do get pushed up a little bit or get changed a little bit, according to, where we're at, what we're doing, and what's happening in the world, even.
Right.
So yeah, I just believe when the moment it appears, and if people ever saw a movie of my life, which is something that may be possible in the far future, that's a long story I won't get into, but if it does, people would really actually get to see what a miracle this board game coming out, because the way that it has taken as many years as it has, and the different circumstances, like nobody would believe it. You wouldn't believe it in a million years. And I mean that sincerely.
I say the
So,
same thing. I say the same thing. And that's why I don't speak too much of my experience. I don't really bring it up often but lately I've been told to bring it up. I'm doing a boot camp for Beyond TV boot camp. And one of the, I think she was my accountability partner. She said, if you don't speak your story, your whole story, not
yeah,
just what you want to, she
yeah,
said, you're just going to stay there and you're not going to help any people. And I said, that's not true. And
right,
if I
right.
were to tell you my story, you would say, oh my gosh. And some people do, even when I was doing my bio for the book, the last book,
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a whole bunch and then I'm like, no. I have to take all this out. Back and forth. I mean, even with my trainings, if
Yeah,
anybody knew all of the trainings I've done,
yeah,
I only put a little bit out
yeah,
there. But
yeah.
it's our mission. It's our
Yeah.
mission
No,
to
but
do our best.
I think the reason we hold back for some of us is because it's so hard to believe. Like, I mean, when I tell people, again, it's hard to wrap around, but when I opened up my first not beauty shop, barber shop, when I was 21 years old, and this is in my book, Success After Insanity, Healing Hearts of the Mentally Ill, which I'm right now revising. So I tell people, don't buy it yet because I'm updating it. I'm actually bringing more truth to the book that I didn't know then. But I was 21 years old, opened up a little barbershop on welfare, had two breakdowns, at one at 19, one at 20. And I opened up the barbershop when I was 21. I had 2 children under the age of 3 at that time. And I was divorced. And I had $14 to my name. $14. That's every single penny I had when I opened up my doors. Which is why the book is called Success After Insanity, which while I was in that barbershop, Spirit World literally branded that title into my head and let me know I was going to be writing that book one day. And I didn't write it until I was about 38 or 39. So yeah, $14 was every single penny I had at that moment when I opened my doors. And the amount of money I made after 2 weeks was incredible. But I had no business education, no college education, no money in the bank. So it is. I mean, I guess for me, it's just, for some people, it'd be really hard to believe some of our experiences. And I think that's why maybe you and I might, you know, not share the in-depth story, you know.
I think it's important to share it now. You know, I've had awareness of it to share more, because you never know. One person can just, you know, even if it's one person, right, that hears that story and says, oh, I can possibly, oh my gosh, it's possible. It is possible. I thought it was, you know, that's all we need to do. And I think it's really important. And that's why we're still here.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And for me, I call stuff like that miracles. For me, stuff like that is miracles. And I was just getting the chills when you were speaking. And I think that, you know, like you said, it is a matter of one person. I get chills all over my head. So I think, if, like you said, it's one person, which is how I kind of had the idea when I wrote my book. I thought, you know, even if one person reads it, that's enough for me. And 2, it was just very good therapy for me to write the book. And 3, I think that there are time periods when things are meant to come out, meaning vocally. And I know when I was 50, 51 and in the mental hospital for the, I don't know, 28th time, I don't know, I keep using that number, so maybe it was. I know that was at that moment at 50 or 51 years old when I felt I was told to start sharing about Mother Mary appearing in my room. And for whatever reason, it was meant, like the time was now to start sharing that. It's really weird because I never told my mother about it. I never told my sister about it. When it happened when I was 9 years old, I never shared it with anybody. So I always feel like there are reasons for certain time periods where things are supposed to be shared. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
It is.
I don't see any questions right now, but again, other people may, you know, be writing in. So I always let people know. And I think, I don't know if Tiffany could put up your website. I think we forgot to do that earlier. Normally she'll do it up a little bit sooner. Because if anybody wants to reach Karen, she has so many wonderful things on her website. If you're interested in the retreats or interested in this new one she's got going on that she'll be doing, the Happiness Compass, which sounds really cool. Anything, because you have, like I said, so many great experiences that people can really, really take in, you know, and say, wow, you know, I have some of those experiences. I want to know more, right? Which is why we do this. So I want to thank you for your time, for your life, for you choosing to stay with us, and thank God the Spirit World. They said, yep, not time yet. You got to go back down. And it's funny, you and I also have in common. I also feel like I always need to work with people about trying to help them, you know, through some kind of suffering. Those of us who've really experienced heavy suffering in any part of our life. I think we're geared towards that, you know. As a young child, I always wanted to either be, I mean, young, I was like 6 or 7. I wanted to be either a missionary because I saw these missionaries coming to our church. And I thought it was so cool that they were going to these other countries and helping people, or a teacher, you know, it was going to be one of the two. But it's just interesting of having you, you know, share your amazing story about what you've been through and why you're still here.
Thank you. Happy to.
Right?
I am very happy to. Yeah. And I'm happy to come back and share more. And if anybody has any questions, email me and I have a group too on Facebook called,
that's good because one of our audience, Gail, just kind of popped in and said, are you going to have any online classes or retreats and teaching people about lupus? So go ahead and share the Facebook group.
So the Facebook is Women Creating a Happier World. That's my group that you'll find on my Facebook page. And I will absolutely, I had been running groups for lupus or autoimmune disease in general, because a lot of the healing is very similar. It's diet related, it's mindset, it's belief, it's all of that. So yes, absolutely. I'll consider running online retreats.
Okay.
And but I will be running retreats in the very near future. If there's a demand for it, I'm open to it.
Okay.
I'm happy to.
Tiffany just put up that information, Karen, just so you know, for the Facebook group so everybody can see.
Thank you, Tiffany.
So, yeah, she's great. She's really great. So again, I want to thank you, and I can't wait to have you back again. It'll be really exciting just to touch base and see what's going on at that point.
Yes.
So yeah,
awesome.
Thank you.
So happy to be here.
Yes,
thank you
so
much.
well.
Thank you.
All right, Karen,
Okay.
take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now. So again, I hope each week there's something that you can take from these amazing people that share their time with us and share their life stories that hopefully might be something that you can utilize or you can share with a friend or family that might help someone on their path. So I just want to thank you all again for being here. And next week, we'll have another great show with another great guest. And thank you, Tiffany, for putting up my website, imaginepeacenow.com. I do like to say that out loud for my Florida audience, since they're not able to see some of this on the screen. So thank you. And we'll see you all again next week. Follow the path. So divine for you, designed for you. Take care.
Don't want the fun to end? Grab more refreshments. Then head over to the Goldylocks Productions YouTube channel. With the huge selection of shows, the fun doesn't have to end.